What the is going on?
I like to party.
Jesus, honey, wax much?
This is Unwaxed
Get in, loser, we're going shopping.
with Sophia and Sistine Stallone.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Unwaxed podcast with your favorite sisters, Sistine and Sophia. Ew, I have the worst voice. I listened to our last episode, and I was really humbled by how bad I sounded. And then I tried to do that TikTok trend last night where it's the do, re, mi. And basically there's a TikTok trend where this ball is supposed to go through a hole if you get it on the right note. Yeah. And it very much shows you how tone deaf you are.
Charlie Puth got it on the first run.
Of course, Charlie Puth got on the right.
I always thought that was kind of weird when he did those videos and he'd clink a glass and go, E minor. Like he just hit the notes. F sharp.
To be quite frank, if I had that ability, I would do it all the time. I would go,
Sophia, that would be the most annoying flex to have in a friend. Like you just say if you're crying and he's like, that's a sharp B. I don't know if that's
you would cackle. If I was sobbing about something and he goes, ooh, that's a B minor, I wouldn't know what to do, and I'd start laughing.
Awful.
It's kind of a perfect way to cop out of a situation.
Really?
Yeah, don't you think?
You know what I think is a perfect way to get out of a bad situation? If you have an accent. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. If I'm getting yelled at by an American man, it could get a little scary.
Yeah.
If I'm getting yelled at by a Brit, I'm like, what?
My brain did my brain did a whole different scenario. I thought if you were gonna say, let's say a guy is yelling at you, you guys are fighting. Yeah. And suddenly you just start talking like this and it totally deflects. But see that they're like, can he still yell at you when you're doing a horrible accent? No, you can't yell at me if I'm doing an accent. Like literally try. See, you can't. You start laughing.
Honestly, you're so bad at that.
Honestly.
Hermione.
Okay,
what are we talking about?
I actually have no idea. But speaking of accents, you know what we've had been doing every morning separately, randomly, is binging Jersey Shore and Florida Bama Shore. All the shores.
I love the shores.
All of the shores. I love them.
I do have to say, there's something about watching people on television do such extreme things like over partying, over drinking, where it kind of relaxes me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's why I find comfort in cooking shows, because they're just beating the clock, whipping a focaccia bread, and you're kind of just sitting there relaxed as they're panicking. That calms me down.
But there's nothing like Jersey Shore. Even Florida, you know what? The amount of times I watched this show probably for the last week, they've peed on every single public place possible. Like they peed behind a bar. Jenny, at one point, went behind the bar, peed on it, and then sprayed it with whatever
they peed
water.
The bed, Sophia. There's no shame.
Wild.
Which honestly, I know that they had a reboot come out where they're kind of older and they have kids now.
Yeah, it's
more
like
slowed
Jersey
down.
Family.
And it feels like the narrative is they're trying to recreate how it once was, but it's just weird because they're mothers and fathers, and Mike just got out of prison, and you're just trying
they're all sober. They're trying to kind of get it together, and their only dramas with Angelina.
I think that's the issue, though. TV back in the day, back in the 2000s, was so good. Yeah. Like, for example, they're trying to recreate, what's the Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie show?
Simple Life.
Simple Life. So they're bringing that back.
With them in it? The same girls?
Why destroy a formula?
I know.
You've already nailed it.
I know.
Or it's like when movies, Sly's a victim of this, they just keep doing sequel after sequel. The first one, the second one, that was enough.
If it already has a peak,
if you're getting into 4, I mean, we hit Fast and Furious 7. I was like, simply, how many more cars can we see race?
No, I always try to think about if there could be another show like this and what area. Like, I'm trying to think of what.
We're watching a show we love right now. Nobody Wants This.
Oh,
you gotta watch this, Chris.
Gosh.
It's so good.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay. It was developed by the Foster sisters, so David Foster's their father. But they created a show called Nobody Wants This, and it's basically about...
Well, who's it starring? Kristen Bell?
Kristen Bell and Adam Brophy. Is it Brophy or Brody?
I'll check. It's not that crazy of a name.
It's a tongue twister.
No, not at all.
Adam Brody is the perfect guy to be a lead male in some form of meet cute rom-com-esque type show because of what he's done in the past.
Yeah, like the OC.
And he is such a type. What's interesting about him is he really gives off nerdy, sexy nerd vibes, which I feel like every woman wants.
I think every woman wants
It's not
a
about
goofy, smart, emotionally stable man.
Oh my God. And it's
That's
not
much
about
asked.
like how tall you are, how big he is. It's just the banter.
But let's just explain what the show is about because I don't think everyone knows. So please check it out. It's on Netflix. It's about this two sisters that have a podcast, but it's primarily about Kristen Bell's character, who's this totally, and we're going to get into this, I think, a little bit, is avoidant attachment. Like, she does not commit to any guy. She's always choosing the wrong person until she meets Adam Brody, who plays a rabbi, right? But he's like a cool rabbi. He is very witty. He's sharp. He's funny. And he's supposed to get married to this Jewish girl because his family approves of it. But he doesn't feel the connection between her. Suddenly, him and Kristen Bell meet. And their chemistry... Their kiss on screen, the first kiss, was unmatched that we had to pause the show.
It's funny because sometimes when you watch a show with these two like lead couples finding each other, it feels like a show.
Yeah.
It feels scripted. It feels like they're just reading dialogue. You don't really feel it. I don't know what they put into this show. It genuinely feels like you're a fly on the wall watching this organic meeting of two people. It's so good.
It's so perfect. And I think why we all really, I think especially women, why we really like this show is I feel like a lot of women can relate to her character because there's a clear, when you watch the show, she for sure has avoidant attachment style and he's secure attachment, maybe a little anxious because he does get nervous about things and overthinks things. But every time she wants to, in a situation, something happens. I think Sistine and I are pretty much the same way. I'll shut it down in the sense I'll go, oh, it's not working. I'm out. I'm running away. And that's what she does in the show. He'll come up, talk to her about it, talk it through, not fight it through, not get insecure and overthink it. He'll go, okay, you're feeling this way. Let's talk about it. And then she feels that she can open up and get more vulnerable,
100%.
sweet. And it's funny because I'm like, wow, I do that a lot in relationships. And I haven't really had someone go, hey, let's like sit down and talk about this through. Like let's go through why you're avoiding the situation rather than talking about it.
Perhaps because they maybe made his lines so that he plays the most emotionally mature character. But I totally see what you're saying. And what I think is really funny about this show is if you ask our parents, the older generation, what red flags are, what icks mean, what breadcrumbing is, what ghosting is, they don't really know. Our generation is really honed in on a term that describes every single aspect of dating. And that show has all of this. There's one episode where she was talking, he put a sweater over some sort of shirt and she goes, oh my God, I have the ick. He brought flowers to my mom, I have the ick. And we were like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. Just feeling out like, okay, this feels like a realistic relationship.
Well, there was one scene and it really it struck a nerve with me and not in a bad way. But it was in the beginning when she was just finally kind of breaking through with him. And she turned around and she was saying to him the truth of why she avoids people. And she really said, I feel like I'm too much for people. And if I showed them my whole self, they won't love me anymore.
I literally say that to myself all
the time. I was like, that's how I feel. And you know what's so funny? We went out the other night and we were sitting with these two guys and not like that, just friends. And Sistine and I were saying to each other, and we're talking to them about dating. And sometimes we're like, do we need to suppress kind of our very extroverted, opinionated, loud
we need to stop
version?
talking or talk less.
But at the same time, that's the issue, is that we're already thinking insecure thoughts going, oh, because of who we are at our core, because we're loud, we're funny, we are very opinionated, we like to shoot the shit, that some guy's not going to accept all of that. And that's kind of what she's like. And she's very much unfiltered in this show. She talks about sex. She talks about dating.
Yeah.
She doesn't really care what people think, but you can tell, obviously, she does, especially when it comes to love.
And also, another thing we love about this show is she has a podcast. She talks about sex, dating, love, relationships, all the things. He's obviously a rabbi. So a lot of what she talks about is a bit risque for his taste, but instead of shutting it down, he embraces that part of her. And I think this is why we're grabbing onto this show and loving it so much, because we're seeing something play out that we're like, holy shit, I get it's scripted, I get it's fiction or nonfiction, but it can happen.
Yeah.
And I think the lesson in all of this is if you feel like you're dating someone and you're holding back certain parts of yourself because you feel like they'll like you more if you do so. I mean.
And I also think that it's so important to be upfront about exactly who you are and what you want right off the bat,
100%.
because you'll be very quickly able to tell if this person is meant for you. Because I think in the beginning for her, she was being herself when she didn't really know who he was. And she started to, he liked her for that. And then once she caught feelings, which is what we do all the time, we start to overanalyze everything. Like, is he going to text me back if I sent this? Like, there was a scene where she sent a message saying, like, that kiss was so good, I think I'm pregnant. And it's
so funny.
so funny.
I'm going to use that. That's so
funny.
funny.
It's so funny. And that's something, like, I don't know if I ever would say something like that, but in my head, I'm like, that's hilarious. And she sent that thinking that he had something else going on where he had to go to the hospital in the scene, but she was so spiraled, being like, he doesn't like me anymore. I sent the wrong message. I did this. And that's where we get so caught up, is when we catch feelings, our brain goes haywire,
the worst possible scenario,
and we become manic, and we think, oh, the more they get to know us, the more that they won't like us. And so anything we say, we just start to repress. No. You need to find a guy that's soft-spoken, that will talk through your things and love that side of you, which there are out there.
If you feel like you're holding back and repressing pieces of you that genuinely make you who you are, if you were to ask him, are you showing every part of me and hiding anything? He's probably going to say, no. So why are you sacrificing parts of yourself? Like, I don't know. I just feel like we hear this with our friends all the time, where they're too afraid to say how they really feel because they're afraid they won't want her anymore.
Yeah.
They're afraid to take that next step because they don't want to scare him off. It's like, it shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard.
It should be thoughtless, honestly. The conversations, especially in the beginning, should be just so
fluid,
thoughtless and fluid. Like, you shouldn't have to think about, okay, I'm trying to keep up with him. Okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say?
You know what's a good example of this is a few months ago, I went out with someone that was 40, which is like very much older than me. We went on like 2-3 dates, so it was nothing crazy. That was like probably the oldest I went on a date with. I'm gonna make that very clear. I remember we had this talk about age gaps last night, but just in like, that doesn't bother me that much. But what was going through my mind during that time was the fact that I was getting so self-conscious about, oh, I'm younger, so he's not going to think I'm maybe as smart. Oh, I haven't lived as much life, and maybe he won't think I'm as worldly, and all this stuff. And I go, okay, clearly he's on a date with me for a reason, whether it was like separate from attraction. Like, I know I'm like, why am I diluting myself by saying that I'm lesser than him because he's 15 years older than me, or whatever, less than 10 years older than me? It doesn't matter. I mean, you should go into every date, like whether it's a 40-year-old or a 28-year-old, you should know your value, go in fully confident, and if he's not feeling it, he won't feel it. And you'll know that. And that's the thing. I think the moment you start to hit doubt in your brain, in the sense of, I don't think I can fully be myself around him, get out. I think that you know when someone is super into you very early on, and I think you'll also know that the doubt isn't just doubt and insecurity brain. That's actually telling you maybe this isn't the one for you, because you should just feel comfortable with the person that is meant for you.
I totally agree. But I think in today's dating scene, I feel like guys and girls, but as a straight female dating straight men, I'm going to say guys in the scenario, that the idea of chasing doesn't really exist anymore. So it does confuse the person on the other side, thinking, I don't know if they're actually into me. And that is a lost art.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the art of chasing, because in my opinion, when you have that really great chase, and everyone has had that at least once in their dating life, it feels euphoric. It feels fun. It feels free. Like, this is the best part before actually getting into a relationship. And I don't understand why it's now changed to being, oh, I don't want to come off like, I don't want her to know what I'm thinking. I want to be a little cooler than that. Why is playing it cool better than going after the girl?
I know. Well, it's shooting your shot. You're going to get either rejected or you're going to get accepted. And I'm sorry, you have a 50-50 chance. And by the way, I'll tell you this. I respect the guys that shoot their shot more than the ones that look at me 3 times across the way and walk away. That I actually look at you and go, that's not my guy. Because my guy is going to be confident enough and go, wow, she's amazing. She's beautiful. I'm going to go talk to her. What happened to that?
I don't know.
What happened to that?
I don't know.
It's so
Listen, I've made so many first moves with the past few guys, and I feel like it's caused a big problem later on. It's like the balance is off because then there's a little bit of a weird power dynamic, and now the power's in my hands, which I don't necessarily want.
Yeah. You know what the problem is that it's like the whole masculine, feminine energy, you know, and everyone talks about this. And I just want to say, I think that Sistine and I have qualities of both. I think we can be very dominant in situations, and we know what we want, we know what we like. But I'm sorry, there's also part of me, call me old-fashioned, that when I'm with a guy, I want him to be masculine, and I want to be feminine. And like when we're in the relationship part, I want to be the girl. Work-wise, I'm masculine, I'm dominant. Like we're go-getters, we're going to get the work done. I want to control that way. But when it comes to a dynamic in a relationship, like please don't make me constantly choose the dinners, be the one to reach out first, ask you all the questions.
Yes.
Also, that's another thing I just remembered. We were talking about this too. A really quick way to know a guy isn't your guy is if he's not asking you questions on a date.
I mean, duh. Here's what's so funny. A lot of people write in being like, how do I get the girl? How do I make a first move? Any guy, and listen, you can have any girl you want if you just play it correctly. Every girl wants to feel desired, wanted, wants you to feel that you're attracted to them, wants you to feel like you won't give up on the situation. Even if she pushes you away a little bit, of course, don't like keep going. If
Like
she
harasses you.
keeps pushing you away. But it's that tug and pull.
Yeah.
If you just ask questions, are intrigued, really focus about what she's saying in the moment, listen, respond to it. And I'll tell you something I thought of the other night. And I would consider this to be like catnip for girls because I find that a lot of people don't want to say like, you look really beautiful on a first date or say how they feel when they saw you or whatever it is. Like they're almost shy to open up about what their inner dialogue is. So this is catnip, at least for me. If you ask a guy this question, what was your first impression of me? And men, if you say something like, oh, I thought you were like kind of dismissive, but then you were pretty cool. No. If you go into detail, Sophia, imagine this. You ask, what was your first impression of me? And then he goes into detail about the way you walked into the room, the aura you had, like the way that like your cheeks looked really blushed under the light. Would you not freaking fold?
You can say like the first time I talked to you, like I was so nervous because like you had these big, beautiful brown eyes.
Would you not fold?
Fold.
Like, fold. It's that easy.
Like,
it's that easy.
It's also complimenting. It's the compliments, and girls really do put an effort. And even if you're like I do minimal stuff instead of Sistine occasionally when we're going on dates, but it's the effort and the thought for us that we really do care about appearances. And guys love a compliment. Girls do too. It's like the questions, it's the intention.
You have to have a little confidence. Even if you don't think you do.
Yeah.
Just pretend for a few hours.
You know, that's why I think the show is so universally loved and it's going viral is because everyone wants this at the end of the day. A relationship that is fun, that is deep, that is caring, that is patient, and it's just compatible. There's chemistry.
Oh my God.
It's not that complicated. If you watch the show, they're very normal.
No, it's amazing.
It's just so good.
Sophia and I clearly are in our fields relationship-wise. But speaking of shows, I'm so happy we can finally talk about this now because Sophia was on a recent game show that is coming out and the trailer just dropped. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so I shot this in, I think, April. I think it was April, which was so long ago, or March or April. And I was on Are You Smarter Than
Say it correct.
Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity on Amazon. It's Travis Kelce hosting.
Basically, it's a rendition of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah.
But instead of fifth graders, they're celebrities answering.
Yeah.
grade school questions.
Well, it's clearly supposed to be a parody of the show where the 5th graders definitely are learning what we're about to be asked in the moment. And the point is that these celebrities that are sitting at the panel, we haven't learned it. Like, I haven't learned like 3rd grade astronomy since 3rd grade. Like, I mean, you don't think about it for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And so they're asking these questions that are very, very simple questions. And it was funny because they sent us one episode for us to watch because it comes out October 16th, I think. And Sistine watched it and she even saw like it's hard to answer.
I'm going to be honest. I went in a little cocky. So she showed me the first episode. You looked so good, by the way.
Thanks.
Very beautiful. And I was answering as they were asking the questions with my chest. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what a pronoun is. I was so wrong.
No, the best
it was so hard.
The funniest part is that every question that you answered, I had this same answer. So it's literally like you could have been up there. But
I swear to God, I'm like, I don't ever recall my 4th grade teacher asking me that question.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I mean, the celebrities were hilarious. We had Travis Kelce hosting, which I think it's his first hosting job. So I got to work with him for the week, which was fun. He did a great job. I had Lala Kent, who was on Vanderpump Rules, 2 comedians, Nicole Byer and Ron Funches, hilarious. And so it was the 5 of us answering all these questions. And I'll tell you this is not ever in my life something I would sign up for. Because if there's something I hate, it's lack of control. And if it's something I hate even more, is questioning my intelligence. And unfortunately, I had both happen live.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually shocked and proud that you did something that you were so uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Because that's not easy. As much as people can sit there and mock, like, oh, you did this show, or even if you didn't, if anything in life, if you're like, oh, why would you make that choice? You had the balls to go up there and do it. And that takes guts, and you don't have control over the way you look, the way you're edited, what they cut to. So
and I'll tell you
that's impressive.
I'll tell you what my poor sister has been having to watch me deal with.
Me, poor sister, I am.
So the experience was so much fun. Everyone on set was great. The crew, the audience,
How was
contestants.
Travis hosting?
So good.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, hosting is a lot harder than you think because not only do you have a whole live audience that you have to make laugh, you have to also deal with 5 celebrities that are also trying to make you laugh. You have a contestant that comes in and you're trying to make them comfortable, and you have producers in your ear, and you have a screen that's, you have to read a prompter.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done it, like, it's overwhelming.
Which, by the way, I saw the first episode. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
With how well he did.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
He held his own. He owned the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
So the experience was great. But as you're going to see on the show, I got a lot of questions wrong. Very, very simple questions. And I'm not going to lie, you guys. I'm being so honest right now. I haven't had this much anxiety since ever. I've been having like multiple sleepless nights over getting these questions wrong.
Girl.
And like how people are going to perceive me. I'm so scared that everyone's going to think I'm stupid. I've had like truly nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, this is going to ruin everything because everyone's going to think I'm done. I'm writing my first novel and everyone's going to say, oh, Sophia can't get one first grade grammar question right.
I can't entirely blame you for feeling that way. And I do understand when you are the one having the anxiety, it doesn't even matter what everyone around you is saying. Oh, no, you're going to be great. It's going to be amazing.
It's
you look
not
beautiful.
you.
It actually doesn't matter because it still doesn't change the fact that you feel that way. But believe me or don't believe me, you looked really good. You answered quite a few correctly, more than I would have.
But let me like make this very clear to people that end up watching it. I had such bad testing anxiety. I have cameras all around me.
I think it was so cute.
I was not reading questions as as slow as possible. I'd overthink every single question. That was the biggest problem. Is that you read a question and I'll write down the right answer. And then I'll go, wait, I think it's something else, and I'll change my answer. So you get to witness me having live test anxiety.
Yeah.
Definitely having fun on set, but I promise you, I know a lot more of these questions than I did at the time. I was really, really, really
Babe, you don't have to explain
anxious.
yourself.
You
know. Looked gorgeous doing it. That's all that matters.
I had a good time, so please support. Don't judge me. I let me just finish this off. I think a lot of it comes from, having Stallone as a last name and Dad already being like a whole big part of our lives, and people already have a perception of us. I I was really scared, which is, I'm so dramatizing this, but this has just been my brain. I'm scared for people to be like, oh, and she's stupid. Like that's been my narrative for the last 6 months. And so watching the first episode with you, it did calm me down a lot.
Sometimes when you overthink a certain situation and you play it again and again in your head, it starts to become bigger than it actually is. Because what she had been describing to me for the past few months, I was expecting an absolute train wreck of a performance from you. And when I watched it, I was like, I'm waiting for the punchline. No. When does this get bad? You look amazing.
I know, because some of the questions I got wrong, I literally think, I'm like, how?
I want to do like a mock question just to show you how hard this is.
I know, I'm trying to think. I'm not legally allowed to say any of the questions that are on the show.
What was one that...
Well, I know, I want to tell some of the questions, but also a part of the show. If you get it wrong, the producers are, by the way, also in my ear the whole time. Like, they're not giving me the answers, but they have to guide me going like, okay, Sophia, put your pen on the side. Okay, Sophia, like, you have to answer the question now. But one of the things, they like said to me is, if I get a question wrong, clearly it's wrong, right? I have to die on that hill. That question in my brain, I have to argue why it was right.
That's so embarrassing.
The dumbest answers, even when I know I clearly got it wrong, I have to explain why I said that answer. And I think that was the hardest part, because I'm like, okay, how can I be like, like, oops, like not so.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah, and the problem is that the thing is that I have such a hard time. Like, I'm so competitive. I'm really hard on myself. So when I get it wrong, I'd be like, damn it. And then the person would be like, Sophia, like, say something funny. I'm like, okay. Well, Travis, I said this. I know. I have to. Let me think of one that. I'm gonna ask you some questions from Are You Smarter Than Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Oh God.
And actually, this question I did study, and I, by the way, did study a little bit. Okay, ready? What are the 3 branches of government?
Judicial, legislative, and executive.
Yes, good job. Okay.
Oh my God.
What is the process?
I'm getting test anxiety. I knew that. Why am I sweating?
But that was good. You did it.
Thank you.
What is the process of water turning into vapor called?
I'm jumping in. Evaporation.
Yes.
Yeah. What is the process of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly called?
Oh my God, metamorphosis.
Yeah, Jesus.
You know what I was gonna say? Photosynthesis. I'm sweating right now.
Who wrote Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet?
Shakespeare.
Yeah, well, they ask you literary questions.
I'm getting
scared.
Asked
you, this is what's crazy. They asked you 5th grade civics. They asked you U.S. history, geography, world geography, astronomy, anatomy.
Okay, I get it.
No.
I am killing it, but I'm scared right now.
Ready? They also did like feet to yards, but I won't do that one.
Please don't do that.
I don't know that one.
Please.
Okay. What does a paleontologist study?
Fossils.
Good job.
Boom.
Right?
Ross from Friends.
Okay, cool. Ready? Oh, this is funny. What is the plural form for the word deer?
Oh, I hate these, but it's a totally different word. Deer.
Do you know?
Yeah, phoning a friend,
I'd
Chris.
say deer, but you also heard, I don't know, something stupid like that.
It's deer.
Yeah, it's deer.
That's stupid.
So they did a lot of those type of questions, but by the way, even Sistine saw, but trickier. Like
some of them I've never even heard these words being said.
Yeah,
there's no way a second grader knows this.
And I'll tell you this. Ironically enough,
throwing the second graders under the bus.
Sorry, you guys are all liars.
These are idiots.
I'll
You
tell
don't
you.
know this.
Ironically enough, the ones I got the most wrong were 1st grade grammar, and I'm a writer. I can write.
This just shows you writing in school when they deduct points because your thesis wasn't put in the right spot, in the intro, in the conclusion paragraph, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're a creative writer.
I don't
The
need to know
rules go
grammar.
out the door.
Commas, pronouns.
Please, there's
adjectives.
autocorrect. We don't need it. Also, I would love a student in today's world with all this AI meta. What is it when they do the math for you? The
Calculator?
what's like the AI calculator?
There's an AI calculator?
Yes.
I don't know. Gemini?
You can literally plug in your homework questions and it gives you all the answers with the steps.
I know. It's so baffling. Honestly, I'm not to like shit on kids today.
It's not fair.
But I'm not going to lie. Are they retaining as much as we did growing up?
I will say this.
Because I know that for me, I remember very clearly my backpack being stacked with textbooks this big. There's
had
like 6
to go
of them.
to the library.
We had a binder.
To get a dictionary.
Remember binders? Binders. We had to handwrite all of our notes.
Yeah, it was weird when it just all changed to technology.
I remember the first day that we got a projection screen in our classroom. And it was one of those, the smart boards.
Yeah.
That was the most baffling day of my life.
I will say this.
I was so confused.
I'm sure people can relate. Whenever I was taking any test in school and studying for a subject, whatever it was, I would cram. The second I take the test, all the info goes out my brain. I got to make room for new info.
That's what happened.
So that's why final exams at the end of the semester were my worst nightmare.
That's why even in college, clearly that's why I was so anxious on this show and why I answered so many wrong was even in college, my intention was to get as many A's as possible. And because I was
get degrees, baby.
Because until I got to the final exam in my midterm, I knew I was going to do horrible on it. So then it would balance out to be like a B. And I was like, okay, perfect. Like I can handle a B.
That's the math I like.
That's what I usually do. I was like A's on my homework, A's on the quizzes, midterms and finals. I already knew I was going to have an anxiety attack.
Genius.
Thank you.
Should we do an unsolicited advice?
Yes. So here's our unsolicited advice, but I just want to preface this. So she is responding to a video we posted a few weeks ago about how to know a guy if he's playing you or if he actually wants something, and you were listing out reasons. So she wrote, I have an extremely opposite story. I was talking to a guy who was available 24/7 and replied to me with no delays, asked me a lot about my personal life, sounded interested, and we had never-ending talks. After about 10 months of talking, while everything was going so well, he said he was seeing another girl. And he justified this in the end by saying he was talking to every girl like this and is always available, just as he was available for me. I don't know why you thought that I was interested in you. I had no reaction, but I was wondering if a guy even exists like that, like a nice one. And ironically enough, I've seen from friends some similar situations.
Wait, I have something to clarify. So she's been seeing him 10 months, having basically a relationship with him. Mm-hmm. Did she ask, what are we doing? And then he just sort of backpedaled?
Okay. So from the minimal information I got from this, they were seeing each other for 10 months, constantly talking. He seemed very interested in her personal life, always asking questions. And then he, out of the blue, was saying, oh, yeah, I'm still seeing other girls. And his reason for that is, I don't know what you thought we were, but I treat every girl like this.
He's breadcrumbing her. He is textbook breadcrumbing her.
And explain what breadcrumbing is.
Actually, I wrote down the definition because I, too, was recently breadcrumbed. So this is what it means. It's showing interest to keep you interested, but has no intention of actually being with you, as harsh as that sounds. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, you, the female, are at zero fault for this. Zero fault. I would say the only thing I would have done differently was maybe bring up the conversation sooner to just delay dragging this on for 10 months. But at the same time...
He sounds like a sociopath.
No, but I was going to say, but at the same time, I probably would have played it like you. Like, I'm trying to be like older sister protective hat for you right now. I would have probably done the same thing. He's a complete asshole. And the fact that he admitted to doing this to many other girls is sociopathic behavior.
He gets off on that.
He gets off. And this is a person, and I want you to change the way you look at him. He clearly used your kindness against you. And this is a person that craves, deeply needs validation from multiple people to give himself just a little bit of comfort, to feel a little bit good about himself. And you should feel sad for him. You should feel sad. Because if this guy isn't able to recognize how amazing of a girl you are, which clearly he does in some form if he was still talking to you for this long. I
don't think so.
But if he is able to flip on you that quickly and just say cruel things to hurt your feelings and maybe push you away,
do you think he was telling the truth? Like, do guys do that intentionally to say, like, oh, I talk to everyone like this, like, you're crazy, is only because he found someone better? Or
I'm still stuck on, like, how does he have the time to do this? That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
he was probably telling some form of the truth and then was just trying to be overly honest about it so that he didn't feel like a piece of shit.
Do you think because he didn't commit within like the 3, 4, 5 months before, there was no ever thinking there was going to be commitment, even though he was like putting all this effort in?
I don't know, because I feel like some people just don't have the conversation and they kind of assume that they are. So I wouldn't say that for all situations, but like I would, to avoid this happening in the future, I would just have the conversation earlier. I think, by the way, Sistine, I feel like you would have this conversation a lot sooner. 10 months is a long time.
Yeah.
Like
No, I do think I would. But I also understand because I've tried to also bring this up to a guy one time, and he completely shut me off, being like, what did you think this was? Even though prior he was saying all the right things, saying that I was end goal, this, and that. And so I understand the fear of pushing that person away. But if that person can be easily pushed away by you, then that's clearly not the right guy for you.
I want to make something very clear to everyone listening. Please, for the love of God, if there's something you want from a relationship, say it.
Say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest. Say it to the people in the back. Say it to the guy in front of your face. We are not here to waste our time. And this isn't like some feminist, girl power shit. I'm just saying, do it for your own self-worth.
100%. And this is time you'll never get back.
And I'll tell you this. If you're so scared to tell a guy that you like him and that you want something more from this relationship, I am so sorry. This is not your guy. This is not your guy, because your guy should make you feel comfortable enough. And I'm very sorry. And honestly, it breaks my heart. This is why I'm being a hard ass on you, because I do this with Sistine. She does like the soft approach to me, and I do the hard approach for her. Actually, vice versa. Cop. Yeah. And yes, I think that there are aspects of him that definitely liked you. I think that him asking you questions, was interested.
The talking,
of course. But there has to be a point in this conversations that you had to have had said, but where is this going?
But I would like to know perhaps more info. Did they ever go on physical dates? Because talk is cheap. That's what I'm learning recently in my life. People can say all the right things to you. They can text you. It takes no effort, no time. But what is he doing to actually court you? If you felt like he wasn't actually practicing what he's preaching, actually showing you in physical ways, I made this reservation.
Yeah, because
I got you this coffee.
Talk is cheap.
That's what I'm saying.
Talk is talk. Actions are actions. I always say, like when you hear someone say, "I'm sorry," I'll believe it when I see it. There's a reason why people say, "I'll see it. I need to see it. I need to see proof."
And by the way, if you say, "I need to see it," and they still don't.
Yeah. And I will also say, because if you can go back to even when we were talking about chasing and, kindly chasing, I think the biggest thing is that men like to show love through action. They like to help. If you literally tell a guy, "Oh my gosh, I'm struggling to do this," even if it's not, they like to feel like they're being useful for something. So even in the beginning stages, they like to feel like they're taking over. Like, "Oh, I'm going to take you on a date. Like, I want to show you this. I want to."
I would say yes, but in regards to this situation,
but no, I'm saying if he's not doing that, then. I mean, this is the thing, 10 months of this. And then, by the way, what a piece of shit. And I hope to God you reached out to every one of those girls he's using and saying, by the way, I've met those guys. I've
dated those guys. Yeah. Save yourself the next 10 months of spiraling about it, because you'll never figure it out. Yeah. I've spent months and months and months. Those are the types of relationships you actually don't get over. And the good guys you can move on really quickly from, because you'll never actually understand why they didn't choose you. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I have finally realized it has nothing to do with me. And I've started to change my dialogue. And now I say, I feel sad that they couldn't see how good I was for them. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. To answer your final question, though.
Yes.
She said, are there guys like there that actually exist that are nice ones?
Girl, I'm looking too.
No.
But I think they're out there.
They are out there. 100%. You just have to find them and be patient and know your worth.
Know your worth. We love you.
Give us
an update. Also, before we wrap, if you want to get your unsolicited advice answered, please go to the Linktree link in our Unwaxed bio. It's on TikTok, Instagram. I made a little unsolicited advice. Type in your question there. Please, no inappropriate comments. I see you, men. I see what you're saying.
I know, please.
Come on.
Like, what?
I'm not going to take my top off.
No, I know.
We're respectable ladies here.
I just want to make something very clear to all men that are listening that are creepers doing this. Please do not think that we're actually taking what you say and we're actually considering anything you're saying of value. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're
You're being
nasty.
rude. They're nasty. They're weird. You guys are old. Stop it.
This is for the girlies.
Enough.
Okay,
Enough.
bye.
Bye.